Artemis.
Artemis is taking humans for the first time to the moon's South Pole region. This area of the moon features some of the coldest temperatures in the solar system. Artemis astronauts will look for signs of frozen water and gather clues about the young solar system when the planets and moons were just forming.
Flash forward to astronauts exploring the lunar surface with the Artemis program. They're going to be doing exploration. They're going to be visiting a site on the moon that no human being has ever visited before. And they're going to be taking pictures and describing rocks that they see, collecting samples, deploying instruments. And we want to, have them experience all of these things here on Earth, of course, before they fly to the moon.
NASA has been training astronauts in geology and geoscience for decades. These scientific fields help us understand the evolution of the physical and chemical makeup of planets and moons. From their deep interiors to their surfaces and atmospheres, Apollo astronauts had hundreds of hours of training in geology, or the equivalent of a master's degree, and Artemis astronauts will too. NASA's astronaut corps includes geologists, like astronaut Jessica Watkins.
Yes, so my job title is now astronaut, NASA astronaut. We all come into the astronaut office with, a whole career in the rearview mirror in a lot of senses. For me, the way that I ended up kind of sitting in this seat was by keeping it in the back of my mind. So I became interested in Mars at a pretty young age, actually. I'm not sure, somewhere around 5th grade. So this was a defining time for my life. But I remember for some school project, making a book about Marty the Martian. That love kind of carried through in college when I found geology, because I learned that there's this thing called planetary geology. And the idea of being able to study the surface of another planet was just the coolest thing to me as somebody who loved Mars.
Geology training on our home planet covers just one aspect of what it would be like to scientifically explore the moon. Lower gravity, extreme temperatures, and a bulky spacesuit make operating tools and collecting rocks a great challenge. NASA scientists and engineers work hard to design and build custom tools that will work well in the extreme environment of the moon's South Polar region.
Making any sort of hardware that flies in space is a huge team effort. I help to lead a team of people who are building moon tools. And so specifically the tools that are going to take samples of the moon and bring them back to Earth so the scientists can study them for generations to come.
At Johnson Space Center, we have what's called the Rock Yard, which is essentially kind of a large open space where we've imported rocks, basically a large human-sized sandbox. It's great.
At the Rock Yard, we get astronauts to come out to be test subjects, but we also get engineers and scientists and operators to be test subjects as well, so that we can fully understand what it's like to be in that crew perspective.
So understanding, what our priorities are, what types of rocks we're interested in and why, but also to start using the tools that we'll be using to collect those samples.
Let's just start with the most simple tool, the geology hammer. You all know what a hammer looks like, but in the South Pole, it's going to be really cold there. And so we need to make sure that we're using a material that doesn't break at very cold temperatures. So we create a test plan that includes putting it through environmental testing, so putting the tools in very hot conditions and very cold conditions and making sure they work. We can't just go to the hardware store and buy a hammer, we have to go make a special one. And then we have testing like ergonomic testing to make sure that it actually works with the astronauts and that it fits their gloved hand when they're in the spacesuit. It's not too exhausting for them. There's all of these little different nuances of being in the spacesuit that are hard to fully appreciate unless you get in there.
As anyone who's worn a spacesuit will tell you, it feels like wearing a